So yeah, let's talk about Kilroy and what's been going on. So just to give people the result first, Dave Cullen put out a video today saying that the contracts had been either dropped or become optional, and you're not. I understand your concerns here as well. You're not happy with the description that he gave leading up to this decision.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So do you want to just go through your concerns?
Technically no, right? I was messaging you about this because I'm
Yeah.
just like, you know what, man, whatever. Look, if they get rid of the contracts, great. That's all that really matters. It's the barrier for entry for most people. My biggest concern with it is that the way they've been describing it, the way Base Mama described it, the way Dave continues to describe it, it's a lie. It's a flat out lie. And the quote from Dave in his video is, quote, "Everything that Based Mama wanted was in the interest of people's safety." Okay, that's just a non-compete is not in the interest of people's safety, and a
Agreed.
3-year non-disclosure agreement is not in the interest of people's safety. I try to be fair. I think maybe Dave was referring specifically to the NDA. Maybe he
Yeah,
wasn't referring to the non-compete.
I think he was. I think he thinks the major hang-up was the NDA, which, in my opinion, it is. I mean, I'm not bothered about the non-compete thing so much because it's only within 100 miles of Phoenix or something, and it's not really a big deal for me. So I hadn't really thought about it that much.
But there's right, and the
Yeah,
fact that they were willing to negotiate on the non-compete, all that's
yeah,
sure, I understand it. It's a red flag to me when they're sending this out to creators who are inexperienced,
yeah.
who and just sign it. The non-compete is actually a part of the non-disclosure agreement. In the second paragraph, it says as like I can't remember what actually I have it right here. Let me see
Yeah,
what it
I've
says.
actually got it on my desk.
It says
So
in consideration of the disclosure of information, you agree in covenant that for a period yada yada, you will not directly or indirectly engage with any business competitive with Kilroy. So that's actually a part of the non-disclosure agreement, which would it could, I don't know, feasibly last for a 3-year period.
and
There's a
and
few.
and covenants for a period of 12 months after April the 18th as well. That's weird.
Right.
Again, like
That like the thing when it comes to lawsuits is the saying is you could sue a ham sandwich. It doesn't mean you're going to win.
yeah,
So I always try to make sure I preface everything with the likelihood that they would enforce any of this against a person is slim to none.
yeah, yeah,
Or would they be able to actually win in court is slim to none.
yeah.
And so I think that's an important thing. I don't like to make this like they're the devil trying to steal everyone's money. Or anything
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
I don't. Okay, yeah. Let's be clear about what we aren't saying. I don't think they're trying to take anyone's money. And like, I don't think they're trying to steal money from people or anything like that. I think what they're being is excessively paranoid. To be honest, this is how this seems to me. I mean, it is dramatically overreaching the contract, which is why we have objections to it. But
Well, this is not even the contract. This is what they give you before you're allowed to read the contract. That's
is it?
well,
Oh yeah, and then
I,
the personal appearance agreement come after that. Yeah.
so
Right,
I
okay.
guess I didn't receive any personal appearance agreement, and honestly, I don't. I may have one time for like because it included a TV show, but I don't think
Yeah.
I've ever for any event I've ever spoken at. And I think it's an issue of if there's something in the contract that is unfair business practices, you can't legally talk about it.
Right.
But
Okay.
I don't look, the one thing that people need to consider is that intention, motive are not relevant to what you are giving away to somebody else. When someone says to you, here's what the contract means, ignore everything that comes out of their mouth after that. All that matters is what's on the paper and what you're signing.
I
So
agree. Just to jump in, I agree with you that the what's on the paper matters, but I do think intention matters as well. And I wonder how much of this is down to this being the first time these guys have tried to organize anything. And I mean, it seems like they've received excessively paranoid legal advice, and it seems to be that it's being done on the behest of the ex-Muslims themselves, and that's the narrative that they're saying, and that's the thing you're not happy about, because as I understand it, the NDA would have also included any media that because of the way this is, you've got the non-compete and the NDA. As I understand it, that means that any media I take would, me personally being an independent business, and upload to my channel would be a violation of this, right?
let's just get right into it. I mean, I'm just going to say it because I don't care for tribes or what people try to want to protect about their interests. We were on a phone call where, when asked for clarification, they said the intention of this contract is to prevent our employees from, say, something along the lines of, we don't want our employees to like take pictures of people and then try and sell that to a third party or something.
Yep.
To which I responded, then why would you send it to me? To which they responded, because you're an employee.
Yeah.
And then you had a humorous...
Well, I wasn't happy about that because I hadn't realised that was how they were conceiving of this. Just to be clear, like we were told, me and Tim had a conversation with Base Mama and Dave, was it? And what was the other the lawyer lady? I don't know.
I don't know who it was.
But they
was it Amy, I think.
Oh yeah. But yeah, they'd suggested that we'd be employees of theirs, and I'm not happy with that.
But not just that as part of that,
Yeah.
and then after you said, "Oh, I'm not interested," they pulled it back. "Oh, no, you're a contractor," and you were still like, "I'm not into that."
Yeah,
but as part of that was the contract's intent was to. They said they wanted to make sure they could review content coming out of the event.
Yes.
They wanted to own it. You asked them, wouldn't they have the copyright over the content they produce just through U.S. law? When you produce content, you own the copyright. They said no. If other people are producing content, we need to, retain that, or something to that effect.
I'm not sure if it was that specific. I'm not. That's the thing. I don't want to attribute to malice that what could be attributed to incompetence. And I mean, this is the first time these guys have done this, and I don't think any of them are legal experts. But I think that you have more knowledge in this regard than they do because you've got a long history doing this. You've done this many times. That's why I asked you for your advice. That's why. So yeah.
Well, I'll walk back a little bit what I said earlier. I agree with you to an extent. Intent matters.
I think it does.
But when it comes to a contract, you don't know who Kilroy LLC is.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know who the officers of that company are. So if the people on the phone tell us, right? If I came to you, Sargon, and said Tagley Inc., my company, has a contract, and it says that you can't speak about anything having to do with my app or things you learn in the context of my company for 3 years, and I assure you, this only has to do with the meeting we're having right now. Okay, sure. Then my business partner Isaac comes up to you and says, any conversation you have with Tim is considered to be relevant to Tagley, and you're not allowed to talk about it. Like you don't know who the other So again, like you can trust Dave, you can trust Space Mama, you can trust whoever this other woman was, but you don't know who Kilroy LLC is or who's going to be. Maybe in a year they sell the company to Ziff Davis, right? The media company, and then they're like, hey, we got a contract, we can stop Sargon from talking about any of this stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's why I didn't sign it. But what I mean is, I don't. There's a propensity online for puritanical witch hunts, which everyone loves. Everyone loves to tear down someone who's done something wrong. And I don't want to just crucify these guys, not just because I like some of them, but because I do want to genuinely be charitable where I can be, and I don't see why I need to presume malice when I think incompetence is more likely. But I have to say, I agree with you on the sort of proprietorial position with the content. I find that bizarre. I mean, you'd think at a free speech conference, you'd essentially, like when I was at Mythicist, they were like, film whatever you want. And when I was at VidCon, they were like, film whatever you want. It said in the thing, it said in the actual material you were given, you can film anywhere, and everyone will be. So it's fine.
Well, so look, no one has to listen to what I have to say, or no one has to care about my opinion. I really don't care. Whatever your moral opinion is on the issue. I was told to a certain degree that this was about restricting employees from selling content, and I mentioned that could include uploading to a certain YouTube channel. It's very broad. Yeah. To which their public response, Dave, was that this was all about safety, which is just not what they told me. So I take issue. I take issue with that. Yeah, and that's simple.
No, I totally agree. That's why we're having this conversation, because I think it's legitimate to take issue with that. And what bothers me is, why not just say that you're doing this, that you want to set this up as a business, which they have done, Kilroy LLC, limited liability company for anyone who doesn't know. It means that if everything goes belly up with it, then the company is the entity that has the debts, not the people. Unlike with me, I'm sole trader or something, which means that
sole proprietorship. In the
yeah,
US.
sole proprietorship, and that means that any debts I accrue are mine and through my business. But anyway, so yeah, why not just say you are setting up a business and you want to have proprietorial ownership of the media produced at your events? Which, I mean, if you say that, okay, I mean, I might not agree with it, but at least you're being completely upfront about it, and you're not hiding behind this, we want to protect people. And I tell you what, were you watching, like, the tweets from the people who were claiming to be the people they want to protect? What was the...
Oh, yeah. I mean, the insults coming at me were aggressive as they could possibly get.
Yeah, it was like the thing was being taken over by SJWs, and I'm not trying to alarm people, but I'm not kidding. Like, the way this woman was talking was just shocking to me. It's just like... fuck with ex-Muslims and we'll fuck with you or something. It was really bad stuff. It was like totally unprofessional.
Either they all sign the NDAs or they don't come. It's that simple. Things like that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So
really aggressive statements. Sorry.
Let's look. So again, I can say in my opinion, I think this is about them running a business and trying to have ownership of media. But let's say it was about non-disclosure and about protecting identities. How do you expect to have 650 people in a room and protect someone's identity when they're appearing on stage and someone could follow them? The argument that they're saying, like, oh, we need to respect the privacy of individuals and we need to guarantee no one doxes them. I'm like, right, I do understand that. I'm a journalist. I've never blown a source, right?
Sure.
That's probably the worst way to phrase that. I've never had to...
Hey, you can take... I'm sure that's true in every way that it could be taken. Let's be honest. You seem like a straight shooter to me, Tim. Carry on.
I've never compromised a source.
Yeah.
I have never revealed the identity of a source. I'm not about to uncover the identity of some individual speaking at an event. But if you're going to a public event where members of the public can buy a ticket and attend, and it's not an invite-only thing, then you're protecting your identities on you. I'm sorry. Look,
I don't think there is any protection of your identity. I mean, you're speaking at a public event with guests from the public, just public attendees on a stage that's being recorded, that's going to give you... I mean, like, Kilroy themselves, as I understood it, they were going to record all of these panels anyway, so this can be recorded and put on the internet anyway. So, I mean, I appreciate that it's difficult for ex-Muslims because they will be likely to be in danger from the fact that they're apostates, and this is what happens with Islam. And I am sympathetic to that, I genuinely am. But if that's the case, then is it wise for you to speak in public? I mean, does that mean that you have to... And this is why it comes across as so SJW-ish, is because they want control of other people's actions, even though these people are nothing to do with the threat itself. And in my opinion, the people they're trying to control are trustworthy people who you can trust on their word. They're going to honor their word. And so and then the attitude as well, like, well, they don't come. So, well, who the fuck is this?
Out of all the people who actually need protection for their identities to speak in public, I believe it's the apostates, right?
Agreed.
When Antifa tells me, oh, if you film my face, then you could risk my life. I'm like, oh, dude, you're some college student. Yeah. Like, you live in a dorm and you drink at Starbucks you're like, what are you worried about? Apostates, we saw what happened with Charlie Hebdo. Like, you offend this religion, you have a lot to it could be dangerous. However, it is, I as much as I will do my best to accommodate you when reporting on an issue to protect identities, it's what I've done for every interview I've done with every company I've worked for and on my own. You can't expect everyone else to change their behaviors because of you, right?
Yeah.
That's what I see to be regressive. The idea that the world should be different for me. Yeah, I'm sorry. They're even if it's kind of like this gun argument, when you outlaw guns, only outlaws will have guns. If you restrict the speech of all the people who agree to have their speech restricted, you're not going to stop the person who's going to write your name on a piece of paper after seeing it and slide it under the door.
And Dave made that point in his video, which I think is valid. I mean, if someone's going to dox you, they're going to dox you. Having an NDA with someone else isn't going to prevent that. And
that's why what kind of put me out about Dave's statement and how they've handled this, because it was clearly never about protecting identities. It's an NDA that includes a non-compete in it, and they flat out said to me on the phone, we didn't want our employees, i.e. you, selling content to third parties. I'm like, if As you were stating earlier, I want and encourage them to form a business and to capitalize to their best abilities. I believe they have a right to do that. And if they want to control the media that comes out of it, they have every right to do that. What I don't like is them sending a 3-year, agreement to people who don't understand what they're signing, and then claiming it was about safety, and then doubling down once again and claiming it was about safety.
It is a narrative as well. Because it's the problem with the narrative is it's not necessarily untrue. I mean, that there is an element to it that the NDA is about the safety of these ex-Muslims. That's true, but that leaves out certain important key facts like the non-compete and the fact that the fact that they intended for us to be employees or something.
Yeah.
And things like that.
Whatever they meant by that.
Yeah, I don't even know. I'm not being hired by someone, especially as I'm not being paid for this. I'm doing this for free, And so I totally agree. But the thing is, I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to assume malice, because I have a feeling that they've probably had legal advice that has made them get paranoid. And so they're taking measures that I would consider more draconian than necessary. But I mean, I'm still going because Dave talked to them and they agreed to drop the contract. So I'm still going to go.
And that's and the function is the most important part, right? That's what I was saying. Like, I guess for me, I disagree. I worry about intention less than you do. I think that's what you said it was more important.
Well,
I think it's a little
No. I just think they're both important. I don't think you can just write it off.
I think it's less important. I think to an extent I agree, but the way I see it is getting rid of the contracts was the most important thing they could have done, and whether or not they're telling the truth or whatever doesn't matter, because the function of the event has been improved now because of addressing this issue.
Yes.
And so I am glad to hear that they've resolved the issue. Look, I can be personally upset because I disagree with why they're doing it. I disagree with Dave's statement on it, but my feelings don't matter. What matters is that the function of the event has been improved, and now people can feel more at ease not having to deal with these kinds of issues. Perfect. They took care of it.
Yeah,
right?
And I do believe them as well, that people specifically asked for contracts, and I can see this influencing their decision to make contracts and whatnot. So like I said, I don't want to just sit there and go, well, they're obviously just obviously just trying to screw people or something, because I don't think they are trying to screw people, but I think they are overstepping their bounds, and they could have definitely been more clear about all this, and I don't see why they wouldn't, because like I find that I just tell people exactly what I think, and everyone's remarkably forgiving. Even if I've made a mistake, I'll just be like, okay, yeah, I fucked up, And so, and the thing is, and the person I feel most bad for about this is Dave, because I don't think he was actually involved in the legal stuff, because he woke up to a bunch of messages from me and everyone else going, Dave, what the fuck's all this about? And he's like, I don't know. He had to go and investigate it. So it looks like this has been sort of sprung on him. So I do feel kind of bad about it. But yeah, it's weird.
I view this as the same as, look, when I was at Occupy Wall Street, they said, don't film things that make us look bad. Oh, so I famously filmed these 3, I guess today you could call them Antifa. They were like anarcho-capitalist black bloc people deflating police tires. And it wasn't like I hunted them out. I was walking down the street, I saw them doing it, and I'm like, well, there are some people draining police tires, and they attacked me for it. They got in my face, they swung at me, they hit me. And then I got approached by someone who pulled me out of the public space in New York. It's this under Deutsche Bank, and he goes, listen, man, you don't work for anybody, which means you have to support us. Don't film us doing these things. Only film the police. Film the police when they hit us. Don't film us when we push back. And I was like, no, if you do something in public and I'm filming, like, congratulations, like, you're going to be on camera. Like, I'm sorry, dude. If you don't want people to know who you are and what you're doing, wear a mask. What can I say?
Well, no, don't do anything wrong. That's the easiest thing.
Right.
Just don't do anything wrong.
Well, look, like, what is right and wrong is subjective. I get that.
It is, but okay, don't do anything that's breaking the laws. How's that?
Well, no, I even disagree with that.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, smoking marijuana is breaking the law.
Oh, okay. But you know what I mean? You know what I mean. It's like, don't do anything morally reprehensible that the majority of people are going to think are morally reprehensible. For example, if you go around slashing police tires or whatever, don't be afraid to be caught on camera doing that. Either be proud of it or don't fucking do it,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think there are some laws that are, just because the law doesn't mean you shouldn't break it. Some laws are unjust, and I fully understand.
Yeah. Sure.
But yeah, if you're going to go in public and start draining tires and then assume that, you're not going to be filmed is absolutely ridiculous. But what ends up happening is they say, we're going to protect our interests. All right, so let's move on to the next example. During there's a Twitter account, Yora Non News, and I'm not affiliated with them, so this is all hearsay, but I know some people who were working with them. At one point, they raised a ton of money to launch a news website. Never happened. No one really knows what happened. But what I can say is that I was told by some of the people involved that new activists took over the account and then flat out said, don't tell anyone where their money went because we have too much power with this Twitter account. It has over a million followers.
Right. Okay.
And so the idea was, well, if we tell people the truth, we could damage our power. So just shut up about it and keep the ship sailing.
Yeah.
And so I feel similarly to what happens with this. Like, oh, we could come out and be honest and say, look, we just wanted to own the content coming out of the event. We're a new business, and part of the business is to produce media based on the debates we're having. And I think that's fair. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
sure.
I'm not gonna tell you if I have a YouTube channel, I'm filming a video. I don't want you to then film the same thing and upload it at the same time unless we agree. That's like if I recorded this interview we're doing and upload to my channel before you could.
I'll tell you what, you're gonna have to sign my contract, Tim.
Well, so that's basically it. If that was the case, I have no problem with that. I probably would have disagreed and politely declined it. And just be like, look, I make YouTube videos. I fully intend to interview people, and I understand what you're doing. So, I don't think I'm not going to steal any of your content. I think we can come to an agreement on that. But also, so anyway, I feel like what happens then is because Based Mama pushed the narrative of safety. That's like, well, what do we do? Do we admit that we were wrong and that we were just trying to placate the audience with like a narrative? And so that's what they did. I feel like they doubled down in an effort to protect their interests.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And the thing is, it's a hole they've dug that there was no real need to dig a fucking hole. Like if
Michael
they,
Flynn.
like it's like we're the capitalists, goddammit. We're the people who should. We own our own businesses. We're the ones who are pro-business. If you say, right, we're to have this event, we've started a corporation, and because it's now our business, we want to own the content coming out of it. I'd be like, okay, that's not unreasonable.
Yeah.
I mean, Mythicist did the same thing. They just asked politely, if you're going to film, just film short clips that you're going to upload. Don't film the whole thing because we're going to. And everyone abided by it. They just asked. And, I didn't film it. Obviously, no one else, as far as I'm aware, filmed it. It was just, they asked. And that's all you need to do.
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, I'm a rogue, right? I'm not part of any community. I do my own thing. I'm outside of New York proper in the New York Metro. I just avoid people, sit in my little cave with my camera and my computers, and I read the news all day, and then I travel places, and I have no interest in the left or the right or whatever political group. But I will say that the people involved with Kilroy have been, I don't know what the right word would be, the most amenable to my stance on things, simply because my job can't exist without free speech. So as far as I would ever align with any group, whatever this weird amalgam of people is, it's like left, right, center,
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's what people term the skeptic community, but I hate the term, and it's just
I wouldn't even consider I'm not a skeptic. I guess maybe, but I don't consider myself part of any community, but I do. So I've been invited to a bunch of events, having to do with like politics, and a lot of them are free speech people who are like on the right, or issues of politics that are like center, and I'm just like, nope. Like, I'm not even, I don't even want to be in people's pictures because I'm not a part of your community. Like, look, we can hang out. I'll be cordial. You be nice to me. I'm nice to you. But the reason I agreed to this was because it's a free speech event put on by people who are not of one particular political leaning.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, this is the one thing where I'm like, I absolutely could have some really good debates about politics, about issues of social justice, and it would be really great. Yeah. And then I just, I guess what ends up happening is, I think Based Mama had it's my show, my way or the highway. And so I said, okay, count me out. And that led to drama.
Yeah, I hate drama. But the thing is, I think the thing that annoyed me most about it is it's like, if I was hosting something, I can't even, like a free speech event specifically, which undoubtedly anything I hosted would be that, at least in principle, before we even got to the subject. I can't imagine telling people they couldn't film stuff and put it on the internet. I would expect that. I would rather people do that because, that's going to spread it far and wide,
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why
everyone allows it.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, why that would even... and even then you were like, okay, well, I've got people here that I want to protect. Okay, well, have an NDA saying you can't release this person's name. You could have a very specific thing for the duration of this conference, or whatever, however, like 6 months or something. I don't know, however long. I don't know, whatever the details are. But just be specific about the thing that you're actually trying to do, and then I can agree. Yeah, that's about protecting that person's identity because you were specific about that person's identity.
And when the document said operations, guests, and finance, I was like, this is clearly not about safety, right? Yeah. This is about...
How would I know anything about operations and finances? I'm going to be sitting on a panel.
It's why I think the issue of safety was just a narrative, right? The contract was about their business. It was about protecting their business and controlling content and things like that, which on its own, totally fine. It's your business. I think they want to put on a Kilroy event where they get high-profile people to have debates. That sounds like it would be a great media business.
Yeah.
And so, but that's part of what I take issue with, because if that was their intent, right, then not competing with that, not soliciting customers of Kilroy is, I mean, the whole, whatever, man. I think we know the contract was very problematic.
Yeah. But the thing about that as well is like that seems like an unnecessary concern to me as well. It's like no one's going to an SJW or some other competing conference for any reason, like you, hey, we're going to do this free speech conference. Oh, it's funded. Oh, brilliant. Let's get it all done. Yeah, by the way, we've got a load of legalese you've got to go through. Well, we're not going anywhere else. We're coming here in good faith,
Well, there's rumors of a second event. That
was,
I don't know exactly what it was, but I heard that there was some argument with drop something. I heard there was some argument with somebody, and so they were going to throw their own like mini bar kind of event somewhere. And so I don't know anything about it, but it seems like that's why the non-compete may have existed. It's speculative because I don't know the details,
then,
but
like that's so silly. It's paranoid. That's the thing. It's absolutely paranoid. Like, yeah, and the thing, this is what annoys me, because like for people who aren't public figures, maybe it's something you don't really understand. But even then, I think people who watch public figures are well aware that you live and die on your reputation. If I were to suddenly like go back on my principles and what I believe to be right, people would be all over me, and rightfully so. Rightfully so.
If tomorrow you shaved the sides of your head, dyed your hair red, and had an anarcho-feminist fist on your shirt, people would be like, "What?"
Actually, I think they'd think that was a joke. But if I came out and did like a corporate endorsement or something, they would be rightfully all over me, and I wouldn't be able to blame them at all. I mean, I literally said, "Look, I'm completely independent. I will never take corporate money, and if I'm shilling for some corporation, hell, then I've become the thing I hate." So
You'll, yeah, right. If one day I put up a YouTube video, I quit, and then they see me wearing a suit on CNN with no beanie on.
Oh yeah, that's the future I want to see, Tim.
Yeah,
you want CNN?
Worst timeline.
Co-hosting with Chris Cuomo.
I actually do like Anderson Cooper. I think he's done some great work, but I think when it comes to news networks, they've just lost their ability to function.
Yeah, I don't.
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah. So my opinion is I'm still going because like you said, consequentially the contracts were dropped, so it's not something I have to worry about.
All taken care of.
Yeah, I don't understand why the attitude got to this point, but I understand that it's probably stressful setting up a company to arrange a conference and to make all of this happen. It's the first sort of attempt that anyone from the sort of dissident political sphere has tried to make, and that's it. I think that is good in itself, and I can understand there will be mistakes made along the way, and I'm personally prepared to be forgiving about that. I don't know about the people, but I personally am prepared to forgive that, especially if the mistakes are corrected, which, as far as I'm concerned, they have been. I personally, because, it's a free speech conference, so I would like just transparency, because you don't have to be perfect, you just have to be completely clear about what you're doing, which is why we're having this conversation, because I want complete transparency, because there's no reason to not. We're not, if you do, not if you've got nothing to hide, then you've got nothing to fear, but just show people that you're doing the right thing, and then there is just nothing for you to worry about, in my opinion.
That's basically my philosophy. I mean, the work that I do is essentially, when there's certain things people deserve to keep private, people's identities, predictions, and it's and a lot of that's based on the fact that other people can be crazy. But for the most part, when it comes to organizing an event specifically around the ideals of free expression and honesty,
which is really what this is all about, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's that and that's what's shocking to me is one, like the gripe that I have with the regressive community is the lies they spread about me. That instead of challenging the ideas, right? So what's really interesting about, like, when I went to Columbia for Mike Cernovich's presentation, I didn't go in the event. I was simply filming the protest outside, and they start literally making things up. This young woman screams while filming to this security that I was a known doxer, that I'm there to public people's identities because I'm hunting their families.
Because you're recording them, right? And they've extrapolated all of this from you recording them.
Exactly.
Amazing.
But the reality was they just made it all up because you know what I find that's really strange? The far right are totally honest about their opinions that people don't like.
Yeah,
right?
but they will tell lies about people. They absolutely
for sure.
will. Yeah.
Like I don't think it's absolute. I just think when you look to the leaders of the far right, they go on, like Vice News has Chris Cantwell saying the most ridiculous stuff that literally no one's ever going to side with.
Yeah.
He's open about his extreme politics, but then the far left lies about their politics. They say, we're peaceful, we don't like violence, and we believe in free speech, and then crack someone over the skull with the bike lock.
Yeah.
So I think that's why this community, like the Kilroy event, you end up with people who are liberal, who are willing to take a selfie with people like Lauren Southern, who's conservative, because even though the politics are like in disagreement, everyone kind of agrees to be honest about it.
Yeah, on the level.
Which I also have a funny story because I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about this, but there was a production company that was trying to hit up a bunch of different personalities, and that included me, Lauren, some other people, and they said, wouldn't it be cool if, say, someone like this was never official, right? This is just hypothetical. They're like, what if someone like you and Lauren, went to some country to report something, and then we compared the conservative and liberal point of view, and I was like, oh, they'd be the same. And they were like, what do you mean? And I said, if Lauren goes on the ground to report news, she's going to tell the truth. And if I go on the ground to report the news, I'm going to tell the truth. So if we both see someone crack someone over the head with a bike lock, we're both going to report that. It doesn't matter what our politics are. And they were like, really? And I was like,
I love that. Wow, really? You'd both tell the truth? It's like, yeah, I know. It's pretty archaic. What are you going to do?
Yep. But when it comes to, but let's be real. When it comes to the nuance of investigating a story, sure, our opinions will differ. It's just, if we go down to a border and watch something happening, we're both going to be like, we saw a boat pick up refugees and then drop them off. Like, I don't know what you want us to say.
Yeah.
Lauren's not going to be like a bunch of bloodthirsty like vampires with sharp fangs who are killing babies, and I'm not going to be a bunch of unicorn riding heroes. Like, it's like we're just going to be like, there were people there.
Yeah. It's But yeah, anyway, okay. I think we've probably
we
set our
piece. Killed the issue and beat the dead horse.
Yeah, I think so. But basically. But yeah, like I said, I don't hold any personal grudge against anyone. I think this was done out of mistake. I don't think this was. I think this was done out of people who didn't really entirely understand what they were doing, got bad advice, and got a bit worried. And so, if they're happy to walk things back like they have, I'm happy to carry on. Because I'm not interested in holding grudges. So
I agree. In my opinion, however, I wouldn't characterize it as evil or anything like that. Maybe, but I do think that they're acting in their self-interest, the interest of Kilroy LLC.
Yeah.
So I think the statements they're making are to protect their interests, to protect the I guess the view, like how people how people view Kilroy, as opposed to, look, in my opinion, I would have just been. Here's what I was telling my brother. I was like, if I was putting on an event, and I actually have a company, we've put on 3 events called the Digital Future Forum. If one of my partners put out a contract that was like this, I'd immediately issue an apology, tear it up, and be like, this video affirms my statement that all these contracts are void and have no bearing whatsoever. I apologize to everybody, and let's just forget about it. And once again, you have my apologies. Like, that's how I would have handled it.
Yeah, me too. And to be honest with you, I would have taken the same policy as VidCon, just been like, just record whatever you want. Doesn't.
Yeah. Like you like, You buy a badge and you walk in the door and they don't even.
Yeah, we're
But,
not
but
gonna. It's too much work, to police.
that being said, VidCon makes money off of the fact that all these kids want to be big YouTube stars, so of course they have to encourage it.
That's true. But even then, we're here to support and promote free speech. So having an NDA is just the antithesis of the principle. So I can't. I'm not down with that. But like I said, they've corrected it. So good enough.
So I guess the last thing I should say, just because everyone keeps asking, is there's a bunch of people who are saying, "Are you going to go now?" to me, and the answer is no. And it's not because I'm going to hold a grudge or anything like that. It's that when I said I would not be attending, that was it. And I don't want this to be an issue of I threw my weight around to force Kilroy to do something, and now that they've made changes for me, I'll attend. No, they made changes that benefit everyone else that I see. They've taken care of it. That's awesome. But this has nothing to do with me at this point. I'm just not going to go, and I wish everyone the best of luck.
Cool. All right. Thanks very much, man.